Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to another power packed edition of the Civic Mike Show. The show that breaks down policies, laws, and national conversations in a way that every Nigerian can easily understand. Last week, we had Barrister David Ebocho, Barrister Josephine Fani, and Barrister Temidayo Sekoni set the tone with a very brilliant introduction. And today, we are taking it a step further. And guess what? This episode is all about you. Yes, you, the individual taxpayer, the everyday hustler, and the small business owner, and of course, that entrepreneur that is dreaming to build up something from the scratch. Now, today, we're going to be answering a lot of questions, and particularly three of these questions that the everyday Nigerians have been asking. Do I really need to pay tax as a small business owner? Some are asking, what does exactly this 800,000 naira exemption mean for me as an individual? And others are asking, how do I get a tin without stress? Relax yourself. Today we are going to be answering all of these questions and even more. And you know what? Don't just sit and watch this video alone. I'm going to allow my guests to share this video link with their contact list, and I also urge you to do that now. Share this video link with someone and invite them to join this conversation. And don't forget that in the course of the session, you can drop your thoughts in the comment section and then we will read them out. And when the phone lines are open, feel free to call in and be a part of this conversation. Now let's come into the studio with me to see those who are in the studio with me today. All right, good evening and welcome my guest to the Civic Show. It's a pleasure to have you once again.
Yes, good evening, good evening, good evening. We are happy to be back once again. My name remains David Joshua Ebocho. I'm a legal practitioner.
And of course, my wonderful friend here is back.
Good evening, everyone. I am Josephine Fani, a legal practitioner.
And I have my wonderful dude.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Temidayo Sekoni. I'm a legal practitioner.
All right, the three legal practitioners are here once again to discuss the Nigerian Tax Act 2025. Everything that you need to know about the NTA 2025. If you have questions, please just write them down in the course of the session. We will be reading out your comments. You can drop it in the comment section, and when the phone lines are open, like I mentioned earlier, you can call in and be a part of this conversation. Don't forget once again to share this video link and invite someone to join this conversation. Now let's get into the business of the day. We are settled in now. So I want to ask Barrister Temidayo, first of all, what does this individual tax mean? What does it mean? How does it affect the everyday Nigerian?
Okay, once again, good evening, everyone. Yes, the Nigerian Tax Act 2025 has one way or the other affected, or it will affect by the time it's implemented by January 1st, 2026. It's going to affect every individual and as well small company, or small businesses, so to say. So how will it affect individual? We have looked into the personal income tax. Personal income tax, we have seen how every individual, their salary, earners, every annual salary will be calculated based on the amount you'll be earning at in a goal at a year. For example, now if you are earning less than 800,000 naira, you will not be paying tax as an individual. That is the threshold for anyone who is earning lesser than 800,000 naira. You have 0% rate of tax. But if you are earning higher than 500,000, let's say but you are earning higher than 800,000, let's say 805, 800, there is a particular percentage for you to pay your tax. If you are earning between 800,000 to 3 million naira, you will be charged at the rate of 15% to pay your tax. If you are earning within the range of 3 million to 12 million naira, you'll be charged with 18% tax rate. If you are earning within 12 million to 25 million naira, you will be charged with a percentage of 21%. If you are earning within 25 million to 50 million naira, you'll be charged with 23%. However, if you are earning above 50 million naira, this is to say that you will be charged with 25% rate of tax. So as an individual, as a personal earner, as a salary earner in Nigeria, you will know within this rate how much am I earning in a year, how much am I earning, and how much percentage will I be paying for tax. Aside that being said, we'll be looking also into how the tax has brought in the rent relief clause. The rent relief is a 20% of your annual rent. It has come in place to replace the consolidated relief allowance. The consolidated relief allowance used to be 20% plus 200,000 naira, but with the inclusion and the introduction of the rent relief clause now, we could see that the calculation is 20% of your annual rent. If your annual rent will be deducted with 20%, then the outcome will now be deducted. If it is more than 500,000 naira, then you will be charged based on the 500,000. But if it is lesser, the cap is 500,000 naira. If it is lesser than 500,000, then you will not pay rent based on that cap. So the rent relief now is saying 20% of your annual rent you are paying in a year. So if you are a rent payer, if you have a place you are paying your rent, make sure you have your details of your rent receipts, of your anything you are paying as to that house, as to that place you are staying. You must keep your documents. You must keep them ready. But this will not favor people that they are staying in a family house, or they don't have a proper documentation of rent. It will not really pay them. So henceforth, just know that by the time next year comes and you are not keeping proper documentations of your rent, it will really affect you, because you will not enjoy this rent relief clause. Another aspect that it has really touched personal or individual person is the digital tax compliance. We have seen that the introduction of the Nigerian Tax Act has brought in or it has allowed online earners. It has allowed online earners to also be paying tax now. We could look into the cryptocurrency, people that are earning from home, and the online business owners, they are also paying tax now. So every online earners now, they must pay tax now. And other aspects are foreign income. If you are working in Nigeria and you are earning in dollars, you are working in Nigeria, you are earning in dollars, so far the dollars or what you are working for is adding to the Nigerian economy, you will be taxed from it as well.
Really?
Yes, you'll be taxed from it. So far you are in Nigeria, you are working for you are earning in dollars, but the economy, you are working in Nigeria, but you are working for international company. In as much the international company's service is adding to the Nigerian economy, you will be taxed from it.
Wow.
Yes, and also we'll be looking at small business or company. We have seen small business to be one that the annual turnover is either 50 million naira, 100 million naira. Now we'll still go into that deeply. We'll be looking at that. So about the threshold is either 50 million or 100 million naira, but the profits, the fixed asset is not exceeding 250 million naira. So we'll be looking into that as well. We have also seen that small companies will not be paying tax because they have 0%, as we've seen in section 56 of the Nigerian Tax Act. We have seen that they won't be paying tax. They are charged with 0% tax rates because they are small companies. Going further, we've also seen that the Nigerian Tax Act will not be charging small companies based on development levy. That's 4% development levy. They will not be paying that. So it has exempted the small companies as well from paying development levies. Are let's say 10th fund, this kind, universities that they have 10th fund, the tertiary education. So small companies will not be debited, or they will not be taxed based on that. So also we will, in the course of the discussion, we'll be looking at TIN, like the questions they've asked now, TIN and how they can acquire TIN without stress and the likes, registration of TIN and all. Those are what we'll be doing today.
Oh, okay. So there is this one that you mentioned, CRA, or what is
Yes.
it called? This I need us to break that down. This show is that so that Nkechi and Emeka, let me use the language of Aproko doctor. Emeka and Nkechi can easily understand all that we are talking about here. Can we break down that CRA a little further in the everyday street language?
Okay, let me take that. So that CRA, interestingly, is what is currently, let's say it's currently applicable, but is being phased out.
Okay.
Yes, it's being phased out. So these new tax reforms you're talking about today actually sets that aside.
Oh.
Yes, it is no longer applicable. It used to apply before, but currently is no longer applicable. Of course, effective from 1st January. What do we currently have? He has explained a good part of it, which is the rent relief.
Yeah.
So the rent relief is what we have currently. But apart from the rent relief, there are other deductibles that every taxpayer or taxable person can be allowed to deduct from their income.
Okay.
So some of those include, first let me mention the income that are taxable.
All right.
Your employment income is taxable.
Okay.
Income from your investing activities, they are taxable. Income from any other services or any other thing you do is also taxable. They are part of what make up your total income generally. Then also chargeable gains from disposable assets. So that simply means, let's say you have a landed property, you now sell it, so it is a disposable asset. So that gain you are making, a part of it, a percentage of it will be liable to be taxed because it's part of your total income. Now those are total income, but then there are deductibles.
Okay.
Part of the deductibles, if your losses can be deducted. When you are a business person, you run into loss, of course you have your books, you can prove that, oh, I've actually I ran into losses, so yes, you can deduct that. Then capital allowance, according to part 1 of the first schedule of the act, that's the NTA Act, you are also allowed to deduct that for capital allowances. And then any income that is exempt from tax. For instance, we've already established that anything above 800,000 naira is what you will be liable to pay tax on. Anything below or at the exact amount of 800,000 naira per annum, you are free. You don't need to pay tax. But let me quickly answer one of the questions you raised earlier. Whether or not you are liable to pay tax, you must file your annual return. You must file your returns. Yes. So that's why you must have your thing. You must have your tax ID. You must have your tax ID. Every taxable person is expected to have their tax ID, and then you file your returns, just to show that yes, I fall within the bracket allowed not to pay tax. I am tax compliant, even though I am not eligible to pay this year. Don't forget that we are all praying for progress. Nobody wants to remain perpetually under 800. In fact, if you remain under 800,000 over a period of time, they will begin to suspect that it's like you are not telling us the truth of what you are doing. All right, let me stop here.
Okay, wow, this is becoming very interesting. He also mentioned that if you are earning, you're working in Nigeria for international companies, you're earning in dollars, that you're going to pay tax.
Very true.
How is that going to be taken into consideration? How will they factor all of these things into the tax that you're going to pay?
Very well. So I'm going to re-emphasize the place of you keeping track of your own earnings. You are a cryptocurrency trader, forex trader, or any of those allowed online or digital assets. Make sure you are tracking your gains by yourself, because the truth is that whichever account you have, they have the power to call for it. With your BVN, with your NIN, they have even with your tax ID, which I have already mentioned as at last week, that if they notice you are a taxable person and you have refused to register your tax ID, they have the power to register it for you and bill you. So you cannot run. So the best defense is to be prepared. Do the needful by yourself, track your earnings, so that when they come, in fact, like I always advise, don't wait for them to come. file your annual returns. If you are eligible to pay tax, just pay. If you are not eligible, you show that, okay, I've not earned beyond. But whoever will be earning in dollars will definitely go beyond 800,000 per annum. Will go beyond 800,000 per annum. So it's better you just keep your record right, because when they call for it, you will pay penalties. So it will not even help your matter at all.
Wow, this penalty. Okay, sometimes in trying to understand the thing, I've heard someone say, if you're going to study a thing, study the consequences, and it will help you to know
How seriously you should take the matter.
So I don't know, Barrister Josephine, if you can help with the consequences of not paying the tax, so that, because there are a lot of persons who are watching right now, and some are already thinking, how can I dodge this thing, because we're very smart in this part of the world. So what are the consequences of not paying the tax and not filing the return as at when due?
Okay, the consequences or the penalties of not paying tax, I think it's mostly stipulated in the Nigerian Tax Administration Act of 2025.
Okay.
Penalties of not paying tax, and I feel for the penalties, it's majorly they would write to you.
Okay.
They would write to you to ensure that you comply with the provisions of the act, to ensure that you comply and do the necessary in paying your tax. So they'll first write to you to ensure that you are tax compliant and complying with all your records, and ensure that your tax records are kept in place. And when they write to you and you don't reply during the stipulated time, I think in the NTA they give maybe like 30 days or 15 days for you to actually reply that letter, the file they give to you. They give that particular day. So you have to ensure that within that stipulated time you file your tax returns and all of that. And I think there's also fees, penalty fees, depending on the tax. Yes, the tax you're owing. There are penalty fees for that also.
Okay, to add to that.
Yeah.
If you look at section 65 subsection 1 of the Nigeria Tax Administration Act, it provides that a sum equal to 10% of the amount of the tax payable. So by the time they make the assessments and arrive at it, they will bill you additional 10% of what you should have paid. Yes, then that's one. Then they said, in case of naira remittances, the tax due shall carry interest at the prevailing monetary policy rate of the Central Bank of Nigeria. That simply means that 10% applies to non-naira.
Okay.
But for naira, they will use the prevailing CBN rates of interest to bill you the additional penalty sum you will pay. You know, 10% may look small until the amount involved is a big amount of money. You know that it's not small. So you don't even want to be on that side of the law.
Now, a lot of Nigerians have been angry about this NTA, and some of them are saying we're not seeing the use of this tax. Do you think that is also a reason why a lot of concerns are being raised around this NTA 2025?
Yes, I think I suggest you want to look at that. So what I have to just add before Barrister Josephine comes in on that is this. I remember clearly that I mentioned something along that line, that one of the challenges we have as Nigerians is the fact that we doubt the ability of or the sincerity of our government to do the needful after collating all these monies. So as an individual, you are living somewhere, you are contributing for development of the place, and by development we mean certain things like water, certain things like the road, maintaining some of those basic things, even lights. Then you now ask yourself, okay, at the end that will still pay tax. So what is this tax I'm paying? What is the government using it to do that is directly beneficial to me?
Exactly.
I'm not seeing the effect. Unfortunately, or maybe it's fortunate, depending on the angle you are looking at it, the law is the law. And the truth is, with these tax reforms, they've just made it much more difficult for people to hide. The question is, when they are ready for you when you come under their searchlight, they have enough power by the legal framework to really get at all the tax you have been running away from. So even though we have a concern, will they use my money to do what they're supposed to do or not? Currently, with this old tax regime, we all know how we are still complaining. Where is the evidence of the taxpayers' money? We even feel that they use taxpayers' money to do all sorts of things that are not supposed to. So how much more under the new tax regime? But be that as it may, the law is the law, and we can only do the needful, while on the other hand advocating for better governance. Yes, we just have to keep advocating. And like I said, the truth is this: the moment this law comes in place, and with all the powers it gives the governing authorities and even the tax authorities, it is only good for the nation, for Nigeria, that the needful is done, that these monies are being put into the right place. Yes, by law they will tell us, they will use it to develop the society, build this and build that, but then in practical effect, will that be done? Only time will tell. Only time will tell. But when two people are fighting and you are fighting a bigger person, you as a smaller person, just do your own, because the powers of the state are far bigger than the power of an individual.
Okay. All right, Barrister, do you want to add to that before we move on?
I think my managing partner has said it all. For tax, it's just to improve the nation as a whole. It's just to improve the nation as a whole, and to ensure. And I think that for this Nigerian tax act, they've made it compulsory to put in tax authorities or people that will ensure that the good use of your tax, whatever you are paying, is put in good place and for the benefit of the nation as a whole.
Okay, so let's okay, you want to
yes, I just want to cite an example, because in the United States they have heavy tax rates in the United States, but why the residents they are not complaining is because they are seeing what they are seeing the result, they are seeing what they are paying for. I was discussing last week with one of my friends, and he was telling me also that what's the essence of this tax when they are not seeing the results. Do you get? Average Nigerian now is even going down the low. The richer are getting richer, the poorer are getting poorer. So that's the country we are. The best thing is to prevention is better than cure. Let them not come for you. Just be ready.
I saw a post, I think it was Barrister David that made the post on Dubai's tax, and looking at it, do you think if we go that route like Dubai is having, Nigeria would actually improve?
Well, it might be better for us, but then again, we don't have all the facts of how they are administering it and other places they are getting taxed to make up for that one that they are not billing on the citizens. So I believe that whenever there is a tax waiver or reduced tax rates, they are still getting that tax money from somewhere. But then it's still arguable that because they are an oil-rich country, maybe they have enough resources to cater for the needs of their citizens.
Okay, thank you very much for these beautiful answers. Now let's go into one of the questions. How do I get 18 without stress? Because a lot of persons, like you have said, just prepare yourself.
Yes.
So a lot of persons are actually waiting to prepare themselves, and they are asking, how do I get myself prepared with 18 without stress? Nigerians don't like stress, so how do we get that done?
I think for registration of things is actually done online. Any person, anybody can easily go online to the Joint Revenue Board portal, I think, or the Nigerian Revenue Service portal. Go online, fill in the necessary informations, and you have your thing. It's as simple as that, online. You don't need to go to any physical office to get the thing online. Just go to the portal.
You don't need to go to, except you want to go to. Some people don't know how to maneuver all this online platform and all that. But however, that's an important skill going forward. One of the things Nigerians should do is to invest in basic skills, become tech savvy to an extent, be able to maneuver things like how to file your annual returns and all those, tax now, on your own. It would help you. Yes, if you are earning a lot and you need the service of a professional, which that is the right thing to do, then you go for it. But you still need to have that basic knowledge so that you would understand what they are doing to an extent.
Okay, all right, thank you very much for that. Now let's go to the small businesses. We have talked about the individual and the rent relief and all of that. So for small businesses, how does this new tax reform affect them?
Okay. We while we're preparing for this session, we noticed a certain conflict. I don't know if any of my associates would like to handle it before I come in on that.
Yeah, we're looking at the threshold of the definition of small company. Yes, because we are seeing the contradiction between the Nigerian Tax Act 2025 and Nigerian Tax Administration Act. So the two entity now, they are like conflicting as to the definition of the small company. The Nigerian Tax Act is saying that the threshold is 50 million, while the Nigerian Tax Administration Act is saying the threshold is 100 million. So now we are looking at the confliction now that, okay, if by way of assessment, now if any small company comes now and says that, okay, my own annual turnover is 50 million, and it goes under Nigerian Tax Administration Act, those ones will say no, based on our own record or our own act, it says that the threshold is 100 million. So I don't know how this confliction has come into place. It has not even been implemented yet, but we are already seeing conflicting laws. Okay. So I don't know how it's going to go. Maybe they are going to still rectify that by as time goes on. But aside that, I don't know if you want to.
Yes. To add to that, so if you look at section 202 of the NTA, it provides, under the definition section, it provides for 50 million turnover and assets not more than 250 million. But if you look at section 147 of the NTAA, that's Nigeria Tax Administration Act, it provides for 100 million. That's the definition of a small company is, or small business is defined as one who has a turnover of 100 million and an asset not more than 250 million. So we're asking ourselves, how come these are new laws? Why this contradiction already? We have not even started implementing it, and we are here they are giving lawyers more work to do, and the judges and the courts. But it's actually an interesting one. So I began to look further into the provisions to see how it may be resolved. So if you go down to section 201 of the NTA, section 201 subsection 1, it provides that's the provision that makes the NTA absolute. Okay. It simply provides that as regards the imposition of tax, take note, imposition of tax, royalty, levy, surcharge on services and fossil fuel, or any other tax, that any other provision other than the provision of the NTA Act should be null and void to the extent of its inconsistency with the NTA Act.
Please help us break it down.
Okay, what that simply means is that while NTAA is saying 100 million, and NTA is saying 50 million, so if you go by this on the surface, you will just simply say, it simply means that NTA should prevail, meaning it should be 50 million.
50 million.
But now, interestingly, when you go to the NTAA Act, it also has its own section that provides for the superiority of its provision. It also says that any other law that is contrary to the provisions of the NTAA is to the extent of its inconsistency is null and void. However, it provides as regards administration, while the other one is saying as regards imposition of tax, surcharge, royalties and all that. This one says as regards administration, assessment, collection, accounting and enforcement of taxes and levies. So now that's where the issue of defining what this means comes in. So on the surface of it, and without even going too deep, one can simply argue that since MTAA has to do with administration and assessment, then it is NTA which clearly says as regards imposition of tax that has the final say.
Wow.
So it is the NTA that says, oh, the amount that makes a business, small business, or his company, small company, is a turnover of not more than 50 million. That is imposing tax. So it falls under NTA. That's my own submission. Lawyers out there, you know how lawyers can be. Want to come up with no, it's not this, not that. But I believe that it's quite clear. So since there's a seeming contradiction here, NTA should prevail, not NTAA, because it has its own superiority when it comes to administration, assessment, collection, accounting, and enforcement. But if the tax itself was not provided for, there is nothing for NTA to administer or assess or collect. So that's one. Then another thing that would bring more clarity, the two acts provided for regulations. So under section 195 of the NTA, it gives the service, by the service is referring to the Nigerian Revenue Service, the power to make regulations and guidelines that will help the enforcement of the acts. Do you understand? So that is an opportunity for them to now, as they see how they are trying to enforce this law, so when they notice that okay, there seems to be a lacuna or something that is not expressly spelled out, they can now make regulations that will guide how things will be. So that means, again, interestingly, if you now want to know all you need to do as far as these new tax reforms are concerned, you also need to pay attention to the regulations and guidelines that will still follow. So that's why I kept saying that in principle we have the tax reforms, but by the time they start enforcing it and implementing it, there will be need for regulations and guidelines that will bring clarification, because I'm very sure this is just one contradiction or seeming contradiction we have noticed. There will be others, because it is human beings that made these tax reforms.
Wow, with this information about what a small business is, I'm beginning to think that Nkechi on the streets doing POS, or a maker that is having one small kiosk, probably they might not be part of this small business that will pay tax. What do you think?
Okay, I don't know, do you want to look at that before I comment?
Yes, from the definition of the small business or company now, if you are looking at the threshold, the annual turnover of the threshold now is either 50 million or 100 million now, so to say. So Nkechi Nkiruka, only one on the streets now, at the end of the year, by the time you calculate your annual turnover and it's not up to the threshold, I think you do not belong to the small company.
So that means all of us that are practicing our business, we are not even small businesses. In fact, according to the law,
there is even an interesting exemption that the defining sections gave to this definition of small business or small company. In defining small company or even small business, it provided that that businesses that provide services are not included. Yes.
Wow.
That businesses that let me read it as it is clearly stated. That's section 201.
Emeka, you need to draw closer because we are talking about your business now.
Okay, section 201. Under section 201, so it defines small business. Small business means a business that earns gross turnover of, this is NTAA. Gross turnover of 100 million or less per annum, with a total fixed asset less than 250 million, provided that any business providing professional services shall not, and when we use shall, it is conclusive. It's a must. You cannot go around it. If they are said may not, it would have been different. Shall not be classified as a small business. So you now ask yourself, if it is not classified as a small business, what is it? That means the applicable tax rate will be that of an individual. That's the only logical conclusion for now, except we will notice that there is any other section that now provide specifically for how it will be governed. But so far so good, none to our attention or to our mind. So that means they will be treated as individuals.
Wow.
Which means they want to collect more tax from there also, because the only threshold for an individual is 800,000 per annum. So anything beyond 800,000, you are liable to be taxed on it.
I think they purposely put that 800,000 there because they know that 70-80% of Nigerians earn more than 800,000 in a year.
70-80%?
Yes.
It may be too much, right? No, actually, there's a level of poverty going on. No, it's not funny, but unfortunately, it's over
800K.
There's a level of poverty that is alarming. So you may be shocked that so many people are not.
It might not
earning
even
as-
say-
Ending up to 800
you may be
million.
shocked. Maybe not in a place like Lagos, but even in this Lagos,
Wow.
there are still people who are still just struggling.
Wow.
Now, talking of this individual tax and small business, as they have removed the Nkechi and Nkiru and the Rasidat on the street.
Okay.
Now, there is this, I don't know if you remember, there was one controversial issue that I've forgotten the name of the person. He said that when these new tax laws will begin to take effect, that even those who do what they call this, I don't want to use prostitution, runs girls, yes, that runs girls will be paying tax.
Of course.
But are they classified as a business?
Is it not an income? Remember that we've already established all the total income and then the deductibles. As long as you are earning, you are getting an income, you are going to pay tax.
Actually, Section 4 of NTAA defines taxable person as any individual,
Okay.
business, non-government entity. Non-government entity. You are a taxable person that way. Not as much you are earning income. Definitely you have to pay tax.
So are they trying to encourage these ones that are in this business that they should go ahead? Because
Of course not, they are not trying to
so
encourage
why would they now be? Because
but they will still have to pay tax as long as they are earning an income. Any economic activity, unfortunately, it has been commercialized, so it has become an economic activity.
this is serious.
Unfortunately.
Because I was thinking that, okay, with all of these establishments, small business,
I thought you were going to ask what of armed robbers.
that's another issue. In fact, now you've raised this question. You know, now these guys that are in the bush that are collecting ransom,
Thank you very much.
they have their NIN, they have all of these things. So are they also going to be taxing them since they are non-governmental organizations?
You know why the prostitution case will be different?
Yeah.
Because currently there is no law that has criminalized prostitution, none that I know of.
Okay.
And we're not talking about Sharia law anyway.
Yeah.
No Sharia law front at such things. But there is no law known to us that has criminalized prostitution yet. Maybe we'll get there. I don't know. So that makes it a little bit different. For criminal activities, they'll be treated as crime. The law will treat it as crime. So meaning anything you make from it should be confiscated.
Wow.
Yes.
If you're watching us and you have your thoughts and your questions and your opinion, and if you have a confusion, because some of the confusions I'm asking them here and they are bringing light to it, please share in the comment section. And our phone lines are now open. If you want to call in, you are free to do so. So now let's go into one more detail before we will wrap up this show. Now, how do you Nigerians now, small businesses, because last week we talked about every business will now have to separate their accounts from personal. So how can you give a guideline of how a small business can actually help themselves to make this thing easy for them to calculate?
Okay.
Because for someone like Nkechi, who is just using their accounts for their business and they are going to tax whatever is coming into the distance, so how do Nkechi or Brother Emeka separate this thing so that when it comes to taxation they know how to actually go around it? Yeah.
So I would just speak more on a general note by emphasizing the place of financial literacy.
Okay.
One of the ways both governments, NGOs, and other people can come together to help the masses of society in general is to set up more avenues for people to learn the basics of financial literacy. And when you are talking about basics of financial literacy, you will definitely learn about how to keep basic book accounts. Whether and interestingly, there are a lot of apps now that make some of this record keeping easier.
Okay.
You just need to be disciplined enough. Sometimes it's that ability to make out the time and start putting it that is.
yeah.
But just look at our business, some of our business guys of any tribe, most time when it comes to business, we like to associate it with the Igbos.
Yeah.
But basically, look at our business guys. They are very meticulous in putting down how much they make per day. The ones that know what they are doing, they don't joke with it. You will notice that from time to time you see them writing something on their paper because they want to be able to make calculations. They want to be able to assess, this is how much profit I have made, this is how much I spent buying whether it is the product or whatever it is that enabled me to do my services, so they can do the maths. So now it is something that everybody needs to cultivate. That is part of financial literacy. You must intentionally know, okay, I need to keep records, I need to keep my receipts, I need to ask for records, I need to be more intentional about keeping my records. So you don't just treat any money that comes to you just carelessly. You now define things, even any money that is going into your account, you define what it is going there as, so that tomorrow you will know how to clarify things. So it's just about being more intentional. But again, do not forget that we know how things can be in this country. There will definitely be some, especially for the beginning part, there will be a level of selective implementation or enforcement.
Okay.
The law will definitely, at first, the service, that's NSR, will notice some taxable persons more than others. But even at that, for those of us that may, or for those ones that may not be easily noticeable at the beginning, make sure you are learning the basic skills and putting your books in order, so that when eventually you become noticeable, it will not be a case of you have already accumulated a lot of penalties. Because by that time, it will not be looking as though the law is harsh. If only you started doing what you are supposed to do at the time where you are not even earning much. This percentage of a thing is not much if you start early. If you start from the very beginning, you start making your annual returns, your return filings and all that, it will be smooth. It is when you do not start learning how to do it, subjecting yourself to that discipline of keeping track of things. And do not forget, you can always employ the professionals. You just let them know everything that come in and go out. They will do the work for you, but you pay them. But it's still better. What you will spend paying them might not be up to what you will bear facing the penalties.
All right. Before we would wrap up this show, I would like to get a final note from the three of you. I don't know if I should start with Josephine. They say ladies first.
Okay, so in addition to what was said earlier, it's necessary that you keep records, keep your receipts, make sure that you're tax compliant, and even when we talked about the eligible deductions and the rent reliefs, the NTA, the Nigerian Tax Act, ensures that you provide documentary evidence to support your claims. Imagine if you're actually eligible for all these deductions and you don't provide any documentary evidence to support your claims. They will refuse that document. They have the power and the right to refuse the documents, especially for business also. Maybe when you want to buy petrol, when you want to do this and you're trying to make use of transfer, put that narration there. This is for petrol, this is for transport, this, so that you know the losses and the profits that you're gaining from your business. Just ensure that proper records are kept, and there are also professionals that do this.
Oh, thank you very much, Barrister Temidayo.
Yes, I will really add that the essence of getting it in for as an individual, it will actually enable you to open bank accounts, have any financial transaction with the bank, stop broking, insurance and the likes. So the earlier the better. Prepare your mind that by next year it won't be so easy with banks, because they will ask for 18. Get your tin ready.
Get your tin ready. All right, Barrister David.
So let me just back what she said with the appropriate section as well. Section 31 of the NTA says that deduction shall not be allowed unless claimed in writing in such form as the relevant tax authority may prescribe. So you cannot just come orally and say, no, I'm entitled to this deduction. No, you have to claim it in writing, backing it up. But let me add to that some of those deductibles we talked about include things like, number one, your contributions under the National Housing Fund. You know, some of us don't take some of these things seriously. So maybe with this law now, you begin to consider whether I should start taking it seriously and looking at the potential benefits it will give to me, so that I can deduct it at the end of the day when I'm calculating my returns. Then also individual contribution under the National Health Insurance Scheme. And this scheme is actually very helpful, though nobody prays to be ill.
Yeah.
But apart from illness, childbirth and some other major steps that are good will require health services, so it may be a good one. Then Pension Reform Act, this one, some people already do it. Then finally, interest on loans for developing an owner-occupied residential house. So if you are looking at mortgage and the likes of that, your interest that you are paying would be part of the things you will deduct. Then finally, this issue of rent relief. Let's not forget that presupposes that you are a tenant.
Yeah.
So landlords do not benefit from rent relief. Thank you very much.
Are you saying that to pepper the landlords or what?
No, I would prefer to be a landlord than to be a tenant.
Wow, thank you so much, Barrister David. Thank you, Barrister Josephine and Barrister Temidayo. It's been a very enlightening session this evening. And if you are just joining us, this is the Civic Mike Show, where we break down policies and laws and national conversations in order that you, the ordinary Nigerian and the everyday Nigerian, can easily understand. And today we have just discussed the individual and the small business tax. And you can go back and watch all of these videos and prepare. If you have questions, you can drop it in the comment section, and in our next episode we will be taking those questions before we go into the main issue for the day. Thank you once again for joining us for the Civic Mike Show. We hope that you have a wonderful night and a beautiful weekend ahead. Please don't forget to share this video with someone who needs this information, because information is power. To have a wonderful night. Rest.